Oh, me?
Every time I invite anybody on my platform, the goal is you guys get your piece out, you get your experience, your emotions, all raw and uncut. I'm not here to dictate or control that. The only time that I may cut something out on an episode, like my cousin was talking about someone who committed, whatever, and, I have to exit that word out because once I post it on these platforms, they can like ban you for using what they call hate or something type of speech.
Like, I never thought we'd come to a time where everything is censored.
Mm-hmm. Child, you can't say boo without them saying, why did you say boo? Who you say boo to? Were you scaring someone? Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in to Ravon Unfiltered. I have a wonderful guest with me today. Her name is Zhraa, and she is going to give you all of her points of views, her experiences, and everything. I'm just excited because now this is my first female queen guest that I have on here. You guys have seen the other episodes. It's either been me and, I let the king speak. Now it's queen speech out here. Queen's appreciation. I am going to let Zhraa explain who she is, her experience, her life story, and we're just going to have some chat. We're going to queen chat around here. We're going to sit at the queen's table. I already have my tea. If you have your water, whatever you're drinking and sipping on, sip responsibly. Don't drink too much water. Don't drink too much tea. Don't drink too much coffee. Everything in moderation. But again, thank you for tuning in to Ravon Unfiltered. And we have a great episode for you today. Go ahead and introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself, Zhraa.
I live in Atlanta. I am originally from Delaware. I am a military brat. I hold 2 degrees, one in education, one in business management. I've lived in Egypt twice. I've been to Germany, France, Amsterdam. So I like to travel. I like music, movies, and I love meeting people. And I'm just an open book.
So I know I'm a help steer this boat a little bit. Thank you so much for your introduction. I know me and you have been having a lot of side conversations about topics with relationships and just a whole bunch of things. So what I definitely wanted to bring you on here, because after our last episode, the men and the king got a chance to voice their opinions on, and it's true. I love the raw and uncut of the fact that the men got a chance to vent. The men got a chance to get their emotions out. The men got a chance to really showcase, what they deal with. Like, they deal with a lot. Now it's our turn.
Yeah, I know.
So
nowadays, they deal with a whole lot.
They deal with a lot, and then they kind of dish out a lot too. But we understand the dynamics of what society and social media and things like that can do to us. So to kind of like start, I do want to zero in on this one conversation we were having about relationships and just what are your good and bad experiences. If you could look at yourself 20 years ago, I ain't trying to give out your age. She's 20 something, y'all. So, maybe that's too young. Let's start it on that situation. If with being as wise and experienced as you are now, what would you say to the younger you?
What you see is what you get. If a person shows you who they are, truly believe it. You can't change people. They are going to be who they are going to be. Recognize and pay attention to the red flag. Don't keep trying to say, well, if I do this, they'll change. If I just love them a little bit more, they'll change. If I give a little bit more, they'll change. Because they're not going to change unless there's something that they want to do. Otherwise, you'll find yourself doing the same thing for years, and you'll literally throw away years on nothing. I did that. 16 years and have nothing to show.
I was going to ask you, you got a little story to tell behind that? You got a little story. You can tell the story without giving names because we're not trying to shame anyone from past experiences. Unless you want to, I ain't got nothing to do with that. Her views and opinions are her views and opinions. But if you do want to dive a little bit into whatever happened, you have the floor.
I met a guy. He was younger than me. And this is like one of the first younger guys that I've met. I dated a younger guy that was like a year or two younger than me, but he's like 12 years my junior. And when I met him, he had a girl, but the relationship was rocky. So I didn't push him to leave her. Basically, what it was is what it was. But once they broke up, I'm like, okay, well, when they break up, it'll be me and him. But that isn't what happened. he went on with somebody else. He ended up having multiple children outside of him and I. I got pregnant with his child, ended up losing that child, which to this day, he does not recognize that child. I don't know if it's because it's a trauma issue for him or if I don't know. He won't talk about it. He won't speak on it. And when I mention it to him, he just gets off the phones. So, I wasted 16 years of back and forth, back and forth. We've had time when we've been apart. The longest time we've been apart was like 3 years. And then we reconnected in 2019. And I'm like, okay, well, he's older now. He's out of that puppy stage. He should know what he wants. But it was just still the same old BS over and over. So it's been 3 years, November, since I've literally seen him. We talk almost daily, through social media, messaging and stuff like that. But as far as me laying eyes on him, I haven't seen him because it's like I know he's not gonna change. So what's but I'm just mad at myself because I wasted 16 years. I could have been with someone else doing other things, but I had to take accountability for myself because I allowed it to carry on for that long.
And that's what I love. I always love to hear the accountability part because that's something that I speak highly on, is that I've been through a lot of things, but I do understand my part. And then where I saw the sign, like how you said, you saw the signs, he was showing you who he was, but you thought maybe things could be different, maybe whatever, but then he's over here doing it with everybody else but you. And then not even recognizing the stuff that you guys have. You gonna stop throwing his phone. My question is, like, I even asked the men, I was trying to figure out, I was like, because there was some that dated younger and there's some that dated older. And I was asking, what was do you feel like it was an age thing? Because one thing that I noticed that when we were having our discussion in the last episode, the guys were like, maturity is maturity. If you have experiences and you're willing to connect, no matter your age, well, let's make sure they're legal.
Right.
Okay. Let's make sure there's no grooming over here, no groups. But I saw maturity in my guy when everyone else didn't. Yeah, there was things that he didn't experience and things that, of course, he will learn along the way. But I saw at a 23-year-old, I was like, okay, this man knows at least where he wants to go. He has his mind. He wrote out an outline. Okay. He had everything together and he knew what he wanted to do versus where we have men that are 50 and they still ain't got it together.
Still ain't got it.
So with him, did you feel like there was an age gap issue or was it just him just playing the game? Because, people know what they want at whatever stage in life. They know. And some people have to get there. Did you feel like he had to get there and know, or did he already know and he was just playing the field with you?
Well, when I met him, he was 24. So I took account of his immaturity, because women do mature faster than guys. But after a while, I'm like, no, you're just an a-hole. You want to do what you want to do when you want to do it, how you want to do it. Basically, you want us to be with you, but you want to be single. It was kind of like that type of thing. You know what I'm saying? You want to be single and gaslight everybody like we're doing so much wrong and keep accusing us of doing things that is actually you doing. So not only were you gaslighting, you were projecting. And after sitting, and I know the word gets thrown around a lot as far as narcissistic, but when I really sat down and I studied what narcissism is, I'm like, you're a covert narcissist. You only want what you want. You want your self-gratification. Forget what everybody else wants and needs. It's always, you're not giving me what I need. I can't get what you want. You're not loving me like I need to be loved. You're not paying me attention. I'm like, what about me? And then it's like, oh, well, you're doing this, that, and the other, but who am I doing it with? Because everybody you're doing it with, I know who they are. I know where they live. I know where they work.
You know too much.
Man, when I tell you, I'm an Aries at heart. And but literally, I knew I was going cuckoo when I would be sitting on my laptop. Me and him would be in a chat. And then I would pull up the chat I knew how to break into his baby mama's chat and his girlfriend's chat. So I would sit there and
Over here being the FBI, the CIA, and everything. It's funny how very ingenuitive we get when it comes to finding evidence. Like the CIA need to be ran by women because they'll find a lot of criminals faster.
we're going to find everything. Everything. I had passwords. I had one girl, she kept calling my phone, and I'm trying to figure out why my man name is calling you. I'm like, who's your dude? And so she told me, and I ended up getting her fired from because she called me while she was at work.
But why?
So
You about to go into the why, but did you call the job or like? Okay, let me let you finish. But I'm just like, okay, I'm gonna let you finish.
I'm not typically one that will do that, but I took into account she didn't have no kids, so she didn't have no responsibilities. It was just her, so I didn't care at that point. You keep harassing me and disturbing my.
Come on, Zara. She could have had goals. She could have had plans. You was like, that's all that. I don't care what she had going on. Cause you're
I mean, and I kept telling you, stop calling me, stop harassing.
now that's the side of us that can get very, very toxic sometimes. When you're messing with a broken heart, are you really playing these games? It's like we can be very good, but we can also be very bad.
So, but she called me from work. She was on the call center floor. She called me from work, and she thought she hung up the phone, but she didn't. So I heard like the girl that was on a call across from her, and I'm sitting there taking notes. I'm taking notes. And I heard 3 of her phone calls. So after that, I got off the phone and I called because the call center was in Birmingham. I called, I asked to speak to the supervisor. The supervisor, she was like, well, I feel like that's just something between you, her, and him. I'm like, ma'am, I'm not even a customer. I'm with. So every time I changed my number, because her accountant, she had got him a phone, she would go into his account and get my number and call and harass me.
So she really was doing some illegal activities at the job by going into the account. Because I remember when I used to work in telecommunications and I was all the way up to a manager position, like we have to sign documents saying that we will not ever go into people's accounts that we know. If it's not a customer lively on that phone or an email where we have to actually go into that customer's account for whatever reason. And I used to actually work for any of those telecommunication companies. There's rules. I call them laws. Like you can't break the laws there and you can get fired. So what you said was it wasn't messy. It was she can't be doing that. It was petty, but it wasn't wrong. It was petty. Because you could have not said nothing. You know, she wanted to be an idiot, but at the same time it's like enough is enough. Like I said, I don't know. Half of me want to be like, come on now. And the other half is like, what she asked for it. You know, that's my logic and my emotion. Like I said, my left and my right be fighting. I'll be like, hold up. But I see both sides. I do understand. I just never been the type to get someone fired unless they just got they self fired. But again, there's a couple of things because even the fact that she still had you on the phone, you know, legally, you're not supposed to hear any proprietary information while you're on a phone call. Then on top of the fact that she was going into the accounts, then what else she'll do? Her emotions obviously got the best of her where she forgot the rules of engagement with the job that she does just to get information and intel inside of this company by going in his account illegally. I say justice was served on a platter with a little side of petty. I'll believe it at that.
But yeah,
But continue. Let's end it. I want to know, like, continue.
so she got fired, but then it's like he was doing her the same way he was doing me. He was in and out. And then it was like he was always downgrading her. And I'm like, but you're still doing things with her. And I'm like, I would go through her. Like, I had access to her account. I could get in her social media accounts. I was going through, pulling pictures. Yeah, here's a picture. Because if I'm going to accuse you of something, like law was my first choice. If I'm going to accuse you of something, I'm going to have the evidence. If I'm going to come before I come to you and accuse you, well, what's this? Well, why is this picture here? What is this email? What is this text message? You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna have my evidence, so you can't sit there and you'll sit there and be like, and you know,
I can attest to that. I've done that. I've had like, so my question is, do you dig for the evidence or do it just come to you? Because I've had some crazy experiences. I have,
about.
I had crazy experience where I'll be in denial about something, especially with my first husband. I was in denial with a lot. And then he told me to go get his debit card out, his wallet. And when I went to go get his debit card out, his wallet, I saw a picture of the other younger girl that he was dealing with. Because I was in one of them situations where he got me when I was 14 and he was 20 and lied to me and say he was 15. And I didn't know that how bad this person was mentally and emotionally. Like he was really crazy. But anyway, this ain't about me. But long story short, he was doing the same grooming process with this young girl. He called her Care Bear and all of that. And I remember I used to love the Care Bears until he called. Like, if you ever had something you really like, and then as soon as something tragic happens in your life that's very traumatic,
don't even want to deal with it no more.
you would hate that thing. Like, I hated the Care Bears after that, which was sad because I always wanted one. And I remember he even went to go see her and all of that while I was pregnant with my second child, and I was like, oh, okay, this is what we doing. We being trifling. But the one thing is that I never want, anytime I have an issue with my partner, I never try to fight with the woman. And that's one thing that's like, I remember being in high school, this girl literally started swinging on me because I had a picture of the guy I was talking to. And she said, that's such and such. And I was like, okay. So obviously he playing both of us because I didn't know that he even talked to anybody at the school. I'm at Butler High in Augusta, Georgia, minding my business, thinking I'm having the best day of my life, showing my picture. This is my man. He stay in Hepzibah, blah, blah, blah. No, just excited. Got me an old, tall little country boy. He dark skin, all of that. I never had a type. I just always have, you made me feel special. I was with you. I didn't care. I guess that's the only thing I can say is I didn't deal with the lighter hues of people. Like, if you were too light, I would kind of be like, I don't need no Drakes. I don't have time. I dated one, but I tried it. I dated one light skinned guy, and yeah, he was very Drakey. I couldn't deal with that. But anyway, some dark skinned dudes be Drakes too. But I never wanted to fight the girl. So one thing that I can't stand, like you was saying in the beginning of the story, he playing both of us. Obviously, we need to sit back and realize what it is instead of fighting. It is very sad that I understood that as a 16-year-old when I was dealing with that situation, but me and her ended up fighting because she swung on me. And then I ended up beating her and pinning her against the lunchroom table. And I had to go to IHS because I got into a fight that I didn't ask for. Like, I literally was just like, it's like, that's my, it's like, okay, so let's talk about it. I had the maturity emotionally at that point to say, okay, obviously we are both being played. So let's get to the bottom of it. She wanted to fight. And it's sad that even to this day, as grown women, I know women in there, they older and they still behave this way. Women older than me, younger than me, all of that. But past the age of understanding and really, like, they still fight. And I do respect the fact that you tried. Like, we will always try. Like, hey, but as you hear in my story, I had to bust it up. I had to bust up. And the thing is, like, I'm not a fighter.
Hands on me, but
I am not a fight you. But like you said, you put your hands on me. It's not about him. It's about you assaulting me and then thinking you finna get away with it. I was the oldest of my siblings, and for a very long time I was by myself. I'm my dad's only child and my mom's firstborn. So when I lived in Georgia, it was me having a fight, and then my siblings were too young or not existing at that time. So I really felt like it was always just me in whatever school I was dealing with. But it's sad that women are, even as young children and then getting older and then as growing up, we have this thing when we're dealing with something, instead of intellectually, like I used to hate to see the girl fights on, Instagram, anywhere, Facebook, all of that.
The bad.
You would see
The bad.
you would see the girls, sitting here fighting over a dude, and the dude just like, look, I got both, I got my main, and then guess what? He probably on to the next. He chasing the next chick. Yeah, these HOs is tripping. Let me see
Right.
what the next one doing, because she calm and she quiet. She don't come outside. She not fighting. It's very unladylike, and it's very beneath us as queens or princesses when we're young, queens when we're older. It's very sad that the lows that we go to over some ping-pings, to be over a man or over our emotions. I know we discussed that too, how as women, we are so toxic to each other. Not saying me and you or, a certain people, but we can be very toxic when it comes to our person. I've seen men, but they handle it differently. They kind of like some men are very emotional and they will act ignorant. But then most mature men or most men are going to be like, okay, she did that, moving on. I'm not finna fight him. And then some people commit murder. Like, I don't know. With men, it's either the extreme. It's either they not gonna do nothing or they gonna do everything.
Or they go all the way over. Right.
With women, it's more catty and drama.
A lot of times when men go over, that's that immediate interaction. And that's, it's right then. It's not something that's been carried on. And
It's one and done.
it's
one and done.
right. He walk in, he catch her with him, boom, it happens. But normally men, like I was watching Love and Hip Hop. Old boy said, these women, they just argue. And, me,
Was you watching the Atlanta one?
yeah.
Child, I ain't got nothing to say about Love and Hip Hop ATL. It's too close to home.
When he said it, but when he said it, it made sense. Men, they make up, hey, we squashing that, they finish.
Wasn't it Stevie J and Scrappy that had a whole fight that was about to like go all in on each other? And they cool. They ain't got no issues now. First season, they had issues. But the other two chicks, they had battles all the way up to Shorty. The other Shorty was just like, I'm not doing it. Actually, both of them kind of got tired of it after a while, but it took them a while to get there. Every time they saw each other, it was petty on site until both of them started being the same woman. The reason why they ended up being the same woman was that Stevie J went ahead and went and did whatever he wanted to do with the next. And then with the next, and then the next, and they started seeing a cycle. Like, hold up, now I'm the baby mama's that crazy.
It's him.
And then Shorty, Jocelyn started chilling out, and she got into her own stuff. But that's the sad part. It's like until we realize, like, hold on, it's a beyond us. It's the person we're dealing with. And women ain't all that perfect. Neither are men. But I think you were saying also when it came to the relationship part. We're going to dive into this other one, but I'm going to ease into it first because this next one is going to be, I know this other one about to hurt, about to make some people mad. I'm probably going to get some hate mail in my posts and my DM. I got to check my, how you go on Instagram and you check the request. And then you see, I'm like, whoa, hold up. Fuck, really? What? It's fine. I know how to keep myself contained. But it's just very sad that we have to learn the hard way with our emotions that, like, even with what you went through, when we have to talk to our younger selves, it's like, dang, I could have not went through so much stress if I knew what I know now. But my biggest question was it because of the fact that, like, for me, I didn't have examples of people teaching and training me how to, for one, love and fully value myself and understand myself and really get myself surrounded, or even like examples of what real relationships are supposed to be when you got two partners who really love each other and that are really trying to do things for each other. Do you have that type of example in your life before you started dating? Like growing up, did you have a good example?
Yeah, my mother and father, they were married. That was the only man my mother had ever been with. And they were married 49 years before she passed. And that's a whole other story. And they were trad, and they had like a traditional marriage. Now, my mother, she went to Princeton when she met my dad. My dad, he was typical male. When he met my mom, he said he knew when he laid eyes on her, he wanted to marry her. But at the time, he was engaged to a lady from England. He was military.
I was about to say they know, but I don't know. Was he like, dang it, I'm with the wrong one. Hold up, this one in England ain't doing it. But mom's got it. I need to be with moms. But continue.
And it's weird because my mom never knew that till they were like married for like 25, 30 years. And she was like,
hold on, never knew what? That she was with the other, that he was gay.
When she met him.
So what did she say when she found out?
She was like, I didn't talk to your dad. Because when she was in Princeton, she was like, he would send her gifts up to her dorm. And she'd send them right back down. She's like, I'm not here for that. I'm here to get my education and go on. Because she like, some of her sisters had babies out of wedlock. And she knew that's not what she wanted. My mother was just a conventional woman, if that's what they call it. But finally, 6 months.
She was Proverbs 31. She said, I got to get all my stuff built up before I with someone so I could be the best woman for that man. I admire and I strive. I had to learn the hard way, but I strive to be that, but continue.
Right. And so my mom outranked my dad in the military. My mom made more money. Yeah, she was a captain. He made first sergeant, I think.
Okay, what branch? Because every time somebody jump on the show and they talk about a branch, I want to hear this one. Because I'll probably go put these videos together. She was Army?
Army. He was Air Force.
I ain't going to say nothing. Because I'm a military brat myself. And, they always say the Army people got to do a lot more work. So the fact that she was a higher ranking in the Army and he was in the Air Force, I'm going to just let that. I'm going to be silent on that. But I know people going to jump in the comment and say, hey, because, there's always that war. It's always brothers in arms, brothers and sisters in arms. But they got a little competition going on whoever's the best. And it's so funny because my dad's Navy, my grandfather's Army, my other grandfather was Army, my uncle's Air Force. And it's just listening. And then the Marines is a whole nother ball game.
Another beast by itself.
Me staying in Augusta, Georgia, where I kind of was able to mingle and be friends with, like, all of my friends and family members are either military family affiliates or military. But anyway, that is very strong of her to be in the Army and end up making it as far as she did. So that's beautiful. She was dedicated, a very, very dedicated, strong woman.
So she went into nursing. She was actually a nurse anesthetist. So, but even, my dad was the head of the family. And like I tell people, there's nothing wrong with being a submissive woman if you know how to be, because in order to be a submissive woman, it's kind of like the man is the head, but the female is the neck. The wife is the neck. They can't work unless they work together. The head can't work without the neck. You know what I'm saying? Because the neck supports the head. So
there's actually a very interesting study where the heart is described as a woman and the brain is described as a man, but they have to work together. And the reason why the heart, like, I can't even go into all the details because it's not fresh on my mind. But when I was looking at the study, it's just so beautiful because they were even referencing the Bible and saying it's like, this is why it works the way that it does. You have the head, he has to do this, but it still requires the heart to get that blood flowing to the head so it can still function. So it's not bad that in a submissive, feminine female with love and compassion and have all of this going for yourself. From what I hear, your mom had a lot. She had a list of things, of accolades and accomplishments. And she was still able to give this man submission and still be strong. People don't understand there's so much beauty and strength in being a real woman and a submissive woman, of course, for the right people, because, there's people out there that's going to mess that up. But I'm sorry, I got a little excited because that's beautiful. That is beautiful. And that to me is the women that we should be raising and striving to be. But continue.
So, but my dad didn't control her or anything like that. And so, like, my dad was a minister. So, like, women in the church would call him and be like, Elder Wallace, I need you to come pray for me. You know what I'm saying? They wait till like 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock in the morning. He be like, okay, let me wake my wife up.
Church women be thinking they slick. They be, I've seen some things. I've seen some things. They think they slick.
You and me?
That's the worst kind. They be the worst kind. Be all up in that top of, hey, Pastor.
This is my wife. She's coming with me. No, don't wake up, Sister Walla. No. She all right, honey. You up? And he be like, I need you to go so-and-so with me. And she would go. But like, even when my dad didn't work, or when my dad made less money than her, you would never know because she never made it known. He was the head of the house, regardless. Whatever.
You can't say that to these strong, independent women these days because they're going to be like, oh, I make more money than you. Da-da-da-da-da. This is our money. Like, it ain't my money. It ain't your money. It's our money. It's the household money. Like, the bills get paid. I don't care who paid it. Like,
Right.
you know, and then especially if he's dedicating his life to the Most High and trying to be a spiritual man, what does it matter who makes more money? So, like I said, again, I feel like that's just very beautiful. While he was dedicating his life to serving, she still made sure she did her part. Because my grandfather was a pastor, and we saw how sometimes them collection plates is empty. That 501c, and it's just not. There's things that's difficult in those challenges, and it takes a strong woman to deal with a man in a position where he is going to be revered. And if you're not a strong, submissive woman and knowing your place, but still being supportive and understanding your strength in that matter, it's going to fall. But anyway, we'll talk about mom.
And sometimes when, people women don't understand the strength you have sometimes when you're submissive. Like my dad might say something, he'd be like, okay, the girls, no pain. After we started getting older, my mom would be like, she'll wait today, we were in bed and him and her be in their own bedroom and she would talk to him and be like, well, honey, they're getting older, they're doing sports, they're doing this, they're doing that, let's be a little more lenient, blah, 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 blah. Boom. Next thing I know, we wearing blue jeans. You know what I'm saying? So just because
She was talking soft to him, she wasn't yelling and screaming at him. She was like, hey, honey, let's look at this logically. We can't tell them they want to play soccer. The coach ain't going to be down for that. The coach ain't going to be like, you going to come up in here and skirt. I'm going to tell you, we can't see your undies. Why you're not cheerleading, okay? You got to wear some pants. Them cleats, that grass and those knee pads you're going to need. Are you going to scuff up your little cute legs? So I love how that she found a way to talk to him.
Right. And another thing, my mother never... And another thing I see, she never corrected my father in front of us. If he said something she didn't agree with, she wouldn't say nothing. She'd just wait till they were to themselves. And the only reason I knew that because I'm an insomniac. And even as a child, I would walk the floor. That's why my mom and dad never kept a gun in the house. Because ever since the age of 18 months, I would walk the floor late at night, 2, 3, 4, 5 o'clock in the morning. I would literally walk the floor. So a lot of times I'd be walking the floor because I'd be up on another dude and I would hear their conversations. And she'd be like, well, I feel like you were wrong in this. So, and he, they would discuss it. Sometimes they discuss it for 2 or 3 days until they come to a consensus on what they were or were not going to do. Sometimes we just had to agree to disagree.
With you seeing that in your upbringing, did you take those type of tactics and mannerisms with you in your dating experience?
I tried to. And I think,
tell me about that.
I think that's why I stayed 16 years because I was trying to, compromise and trying to, what do you really want, And then it just came to the what was it, 3 years ago. And I told him, I said, what do I do for you? His answer was like, I don't know. And that kind of hit me because I'm like, okay, here we are 13 years in and you still don't know what I do for you. I mean, I don't bring you no joy, no peace, no nothing. You don't know. So, and that's when I just it was weird because it was another situation where he told me about the child he had in Louisiana with his ex-fiance, who you told me all these years you hated so much. She did you so wrong. So how did you go back to sleeping with her to get a baby? And when he told me that, it's like everything in me just, I don't want to be here no more. That's just how I was. And even though, like I said, we still friends and we still talk, he's like, I feel like you don't love me no more. But I'm like, I've loved you all this time and it's gotten me nowhere. So what am I going to keep doing the same thing over and over and I'm not getting a new nothing?
The love verse. You were loving it and you were understanding what he missed was the fact that he thought he was going to be able to have you. Like, he can do all of this and still just have you tucked away in a corner and be like, okay, she's always going to be there. So you don't love me because you won't allow me to utilize you the way I want to utilize you. And that's unfair. A lot of times
I go back and think about it. I think, and this is what I tell people, the relationship a man has with his mother is very tying into how he will be in his relationship. Because
I don't know if I fully agree with that. I don't know. No, I don't. I don't think I can. Let me see how I could say this. I got to watch my words on this one. Yes and no. Yes and no. I feel like the relationship that he has witnessed, like how I asked you about how your upbringing was. You saw 2-parent households. You saw the cohesiveness. You saw the respect, the head and the submissiveness, the man's place, the woman's place, and how things were like. I think that's beautiful. I was that person for half of my marriage and to the point that I was not. The other half, the first 5 years, I was trying to be that. And then I realized I was just dealing with a demon. But your daddy was not a demon. Your daddy was your dad was being a good father and a good husband and a good human. A lot of times, because I don't know if the guy was, if your dude, did he have both of his parents? Did he see good examples? Did he know how to love? Because
that's why I say the relationship with his mother, because
but was the dad around? Like, were they together?
No, that's the thing. When he found out at 18 that his father was not his father.
But was there a father figure? Like, was she with the guy that he thought that was his father? Like, were they in a relationship? Were they together? Now, this is my theory, and just, I could be wrong. And everybody's situation is different because they could see the best relationship all their life and still act a plumb fool when they go out with other people because they're spoiled or they have other issues, and I get that. So to me, I try not to follow too much on statistics because there's too much of gray areas and people are human and there's too many variables. But one thing I have noticed is that they can have a 2-parent home and their relationship with their mom could be a little whatever, but it could be also the reason why the relationship is the mom is bad is because they watch the mom kind of like be submissive in the wrong way, where they allow their dad to do too much, or the mom was out here doing other things. Like even that heartbreak, him finding out that that's not his dad this whole time, that could have been that he could have secretly blamed his mother. I don't know. I don't know his life. I don't know his walk, but
and even to this day he does.
And it could be like where in his mind where that kind of settled in him where I can't really respect or trust women. So I'm going to utilize them because it started from here at my home where I was lied to. And that does something to somebody. I was lied to on that level where I found out differently. And I was like, I always felt like I wasn't loved and respected in this family unit. But now I know, like I was an adopted child, like all of that. It hurt. It hurts.
Right.
But I worked through it and I didn't take it out. Like that's the only thing. It's like everybody has their traumas and situations. Some people have no traumas. What bothers me is that when you become an adult, those choices are now your choices. You can't sit here and say, well, my mama, my daddy made me feel like this. This is why I'm out here being evil to men. And that's why I'm out here being evil to women. And this is why I don't respect people and all of that. You got to work on you. And that's the thing that I never really understood with the same sex, the females or the males. I just don't get why people don't process the cycle of hatred that you're passing down, intentionally or unintentionally. It should have stopped. At that moment when he felt like whatever, he should have figured out, okay, this hurts. Let me figure out how I can heal from this so I don't go into every situation I'm going into. And sometimes we don't know it. Like, I didn't know that I was self-sabotaging every situation I got into because I was used to being down talked to and being abused and all this other stuff. So when I finally started getting with people, I was allowing all of the bad relationships. I remember I used to talk to my friend and I would be telling him all the stuff I'm going through. And he's like, why are you doing this to yourself? And I was like, this is the only thing. It's like, if I'm not being hit, if I'm not being disrespected, if I'm not being disregarded or hurt, that to me was what I was taught what love was. This is what I thought that in my brain and what was wired. But I had to stop at one point and I had to say, okay, I'm looking around at my whole situation. I'm looking at my kids being damaged. I'm looking at everything around me and then me, how damaged I am. My friend actually stopped talking. She wrote me a letter. It was just the weirdest thing I've ever went through in my life. But I understand when I got older, but I didn't understand what the hell her problem was. I was too young to understand and comprehend what was wrong with this girl. She was a February baby too, like how I am. And she wrote me a letter when I was pregnant with my third child. And she said, I really don't like your husband. I don't like the fact of what he's done to you. And she just was writing me this whole long letter. She's from St. Croix. Neosha, if you out there, hey, sweetheart, shout out to you. She is a real friend. She did not like to see me go to such of a low place in my life. And that was the worst relationship I ever had. Like, all of them were bad, but he was the worst. Like, he was 10 years of groundwork from 14 to 24, where I was just deep-rootedly damaged, where I couldn't even find me or my soul sometimes. I was like, where is it? But she wrote me a letter and she said, I don't like how this is going. I don't want to intrude on your relationship, but he doesn't want you around your own friends. He doesn't want you to have friends. He's alienates you from the whole world, where if it's not him and what he wants you to do, you can't do anything. I couldn't go nowhere. I couldn't do nothing. But I didn't mind it because in my mind, I'm like, I'm a wife. I got to be around my husband, stuff like that. I still wanted to hang out with my friends, but I valued whatever he said. If he said jump, I jumped. If he told me no, I said no. But I didn't realize that was not a cohesive relationship, or that wasn't how things were supposed to be. I'm still supposed to be revered and treated like a queen, not treated like a locked, caged animal where I'm never let out and I don't spread my wings or I can't even like walk around the house kind of thing. Like, it was crazy. And then she was like, something's wrong. And I never understood. Like, I'm looking at this. Imagine being 20, looking at this letter, like, what is wrong with this girl? Why she this whole letter in my mailbox talking about I need to figure out what's going on with my life. Like, I did not understand until I got older and I got out of that. Once you get out of that cycle of whatever, and I was knee deep, he manipulated me from when I was 14 and up. And this is why I didn't understand back then. Well, really 13. I didn't understand back then what was going on. I thought he was 16. He told me he was 16. And I found out later after we broke up, because I didn't feel right about how our first interaction was. But I didn't know it was too late. And I got the first time we did something, I was pregnant. Like how they say you kiss and you get pregnant. That was me. So I didn't know how bad it was. I didn't even start showing until I was 8 months. Like, it was really, my first pregnancy was those weird ones that they said that you don't show and all that. Anyway, so I didn't know I was pregnant. I didn't know I was going through all of this. I didn't know that he lied to me. I found out later, years later. My daughter's 3 years old because we parted ways. I started dating someone else, all of that. And we parted ways. And when I bumped into him at a cookout with my family, then I found out he's 20, and like, he was 20 when he met me. He was 20 something at that time, 23, 4. And I'm like, what? So it wasn't the fact that, I messed around and I did something that I wasn't supposed to do. And then, yes, I was groomed, and he used to like make me do things. Like, I don't even want to get into all that because that's a whole nother, like, I have to do a whole testimony episode for that because I've been through so much trauma, and I know I'm not the only person. And maybe I could forewarn other women or young women, but I've been through so much trauma where, because I was abused growing up, it was very hard for me to distinguish what real love was. So all the abuse, what he used to make me do, he wouldn't take me home unless I did things for him on a pleasuring level. Like, I was messed up in the head. And then he did it to the point where he made me do all these things. And then when we were married, he used to reject me. And then I was too old now. I was over 18. So he was looking at the 16-year-old. Then once that person got older, I didn't realize how bad this man's mental was. And then when I found out what happened to him and all the abuse he went through, but like I said, there's no excuse. I wasn't out here after dealing with and being and stuff like that. I didn't go somebody. I didn't go and do these acts to people because of what I've been through. That's why I do not condone the cycle of abuse that people are so okay with. I'm not condoning that at all. But I went through so much pain where when I finally got into these situations, this is what I thought was love. This is what I thought what I was supposed to do. I was like, so when the girl wrote me the letter and all that, she didn't know too much of all of the things I went through because I was very quiet. I didn't speak on what I went through with him until years after me and him were divorced. I remember what finally made me divorce him was I went to pick up the kids and we were already separated. He was staying with his family and I was in my apartment. And I went to go pick up the kids. I had to do my first birthday party and I was hosting the event at the club. It was his cousin that I was doing it for. I was doing her birthday party. I did the cake. I did the promotion. I got her VIP. I was doing the whole event planning thingy. That was one of the things I had a passion for. And I went to pick up the kids because I had to drive her. The girl had not narcolepsy. She had seizures, so she can't drive. So I'm driving her and I text him. I said, hey, I'm running a little late, but I'll come pick up the kids as soon as I'm done. Cause I ain't play. I would like my kids to be home with me. So I go pick up the kids and he's not there. I pull up to the house. I'm like, my children at that time was like 12 and under. So I'm like, where the hell is this man at? What is going on? So I pull up, I don't see his car. Then I see him pull up in his Toyota. I'm like, okay, or Honda, whatever he had. And he gets mad and upset. And he tossed one of the kids in the car. And it's like 3, 4 o'clock in the morning and it's snowing a little bit. It's January in Augusta. And I remember January 2008 was the day I ended up filing a police report finally and filing for divorce that same day because he punched me in front of my children in the middle of the night and threw me against the bushes in front of his auntie house. And we dealt with a lot of stuff like that, not in front of the children, but with him doing and then I was already separated from him. Once you start the separation process of a toxic individual, you start seeing it. And and the girl was in the car still. Oh, I forgot about that. The cousin was still in the car because I didn't want no issues. I forgot. I remember I went to go pick her up. I went to, instead of dropping her off at home, I went to go pick up my kids with her in the car. This weirdo, this evil little individual that he decided to punch me and threw me against the bushes. And my mind was so split and I was sitting there staring at the bushes and I remember staring at the snow and, I was staring at the snow and I kept saying the same thing. He hit me. He hit me. He just hit me. He hit me. Because I was upset that he was tossing our third child in the car because he was angry. And I was like, what's wrong with you? What's your problem? Don't be tossing her in the car. And then that's when he punched me and pushed me in the bushes. And I was just like, I went and she said, I'm going to stay with your kids. I said, okay, I'm about to go to the police station. I'm going to file this police report. And when the courthouse opened, I'm filing for divorce. And I did that. It took me 10 years to realize that 10 years of that was the worst thing I could have done to my health, to my life, to everything. No, but I was not going to get a divorce because I felt like it was against the Bible. Like I was just raised differently. You don't, and then I was reading the Bible too. The Bible is a living word. You're not supposed to just take certain things. Some things you're supposed to go pray, meditate. I wasn't doing that because I was still young on how the Bible works. So you can't divorce. That was never ordained by the Most High at all. He didn't want me to be with that demon ever. He was trying to kick me out. Like that girl was trying to write me this letter, all of that. everything. And it didn't click. It's after all of that. And then after all of these situations, and when it took also my daughter for the separation, it took my daughter to tell me, Mom, you're not happy. Because I remember sitting in my friend's driveway. Shout out to Ashley. I was sitting in Ashley's driveway. And before I went into her house, I was crying. I said to my oldest child, I said, what do you think I should do? And she was like, you're unhappy. I don't think God will want you in a situation. And I don't like to see you unhappy. You are very unhappy. And this is very bad for you. So we stopped. I got separated from him and I just tried to do my own thing. I think I kind of went back once or twice after that. But after that last situation with the snow and me, like I was watching, I don't know if when you go through moments like that, you have an outer body experience where you're watching yourself have the meltdown. And every time I have one of those moments, I could visually see myself, like my spirit leaving the body. And it's like, what is going on? It's like, what is really going on? So yeah, and she witnessed it and, the kids witnessed it. I'm glad they don't really remember that moment. But his cousin was like, that man is insane. Like, I don't know why he did that to you. And if you're saying this is what you've been dealing with for 10 years, because I was like, I got to go divorce him. This has been too long. She's like, you've been dealing with that for 2 years? Yeah, it's time to go. It closed that chapter, leave.
Yeah.
So, me not knowing how to do relationships, me not seeing good examples, me not having that understanding, me not knowing what really love was, me having self-hatred with myself, because I felt like I had the highest self-esteem. I didn't have high self-esteem because if I had high self-esteem and more self-love for myself, I would have never allowed myself to deal with those things from the beginning. But I was too young to understand what dating was. No 13-year-old should be with a almost 20-year-old man. None of that. No one should have to go. Like, there was too much that should not be okay. But in the South, where I'm from, you have a bad baby by somebody, you got to stick with that person, and you gotta deal with all of that. They do not believe in, like, oh, you did it, you made your bed, you lie in it, and you deal with it. Like, it's weird how, like, and that's the episode that me and my cousin are gonna have about those aspects. It's okay. By those aspects, because what happens is we, as a unit of African Americans, especially in the South, or even, I don't know, maybe it's just not the South. That's why we want to have the episode, because the only thing we can speak on is our family and what we went through in Augusta, Georgia, and how certain things are, the women just need to shut up and deal with it. We don't care if you've been abused. We don't care this and that. It's your fault that you got pregnant by a older man that forced himself upon you, and you got to deal with it, and you got to be with him. Like, it's crazy. But anyway, that was my little story on that, because, I'm hoping that when people do hear this, that they understand that if you're in situations, if you're at any level of these moments where you're allowing someone to do something, you have to take a pause and just really evaluate the situation and look at it on a logical aspect. I don't know if you need to go spiritually do it, because the only way that I got shook out of it, my daughter had to tell me. The only way that I got really shook out of it, he had to punch me and throw me on the ground in front of my children and toss my daughter in the car. Like, that was the only time I got out of it. Like, and it's sad that it took that much for me to understand, because I could have been a great woman to a very deserving man, but I had to live a very hard life because I was the great woman to all of the wrong people based on my choices, because I didn't know what choices to do. I didn't know what to do. I was out here not understanding, So I just wanted to add a little tidbit to the storyline, because you have your experience on your end. It's beautiful that you have, like, maybe if I would have had that understanding of, like, okay, but then that also lets you see the good and the bad. You had that example, but you love so hard to the wrong people, because what we were allowing, instead of us seeing the red flag, hey, saw many red flags. I walked away from it before I got married to this man, and then I went back to it when she was 3. I was 3 years away from this man. I knew something was off, and then I got back with him, and I stayed with him for 7 more years. I understand I was young, but I should have just stayed far away from that thing. Far away.
All thing I can say is this: don't waste years on nothing. If it's like, people know what they want. It don't take 10, 20, years to figure out what you want. If that person isn't going into the path that you want, just let it go. Because you could be happy with somebody else living your life as opposed to trying to make somebody love you, because you can't make nobody do something they don't want to do. So that's my take on that.
Have a wonderful day, and thank you so much for watching Ravon Unfiltered.